What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Digi sequence. I'm Will Carr, excited for another week. It is October 19th. I've got my man, Crypto Heavy.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, man? And my other brother, MC Phil.
What's happening, guys? How you doing tonight?
Hey, man, having a good times. Yeah, guys, it's been a good week. It's been an interesting week. Price action's been disappointing, but we've definitely had some news in the crypto space that is exciting and fun to talk about. In today's episode, I want to get into all the different acquisitions that Ripple has made and how that's going to impact their business and the implementation of XRP into those businesses. But first off, yeah, guys, let's just kind of talk about our week. What are some things you guys have gotten into and had some fun with? Tell me something cool.
Man, for me, look, I started a new gym. I met a old school power lifter at work, which was weird. And
That's cool.
he was showing me pictures of like his self back in the day. And he was just a little old man, but he was a big boy when he was back in the day. But he had his own gym, so he gave me an invite. So I checked it out, and it was pretty cool, man. It was like kind of had like that nostalgic look to it. Some different equipment that you don't see in the regular gym, but it was just cool because it was like some big boys out there that was training and stuff like that that's really competing. So it was fun to watch.
That's fun, man. Your kids have any like sporting events or anything?
Nah, man. Luckily, soccer coming to an end, man. I know every parent wants to like see their kids go and play sports, but like the discipline you got to have as a parent, the dedication. I am very happy that soccer is over.
Yeah, man, it takes a lot of time. My daughter had she just finished volleyball yesterday. She had her last tournament and it went to a tiebreaker and they were like a couple points away from being able to win the whole thing. But I was really, really excited with how well she developed and grew her skills over the season. Of course, me being 6'11", my daughter is 4'11" at the age of 9. So she
Which is
just towers
crazy.
over all the other kids.
Yeah. She like spiking balls on the little girl.
Jump up. Yeah, so that was definitely one of the highlights of my week. I was still just weightlifting and doing fun stuff. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, I can't believe it's Sunday all over again. I feel like we just shot this episode last week. Work and lifting weights and crypto heavy. I got to say, there's nothing like an old school gritty gym where the iron is clanking together. There's old machines. Those things hit like nothing today does.
I'm telling you, and it's a different smell. Like it's a different smell of the gym.
I get so motivated in those old school gyms. Like the best lifts of my life happen in those. They're so sweaty, grimy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true, man. I tell you, I've also been, I'm not too far away, only about 30 minutes from the college campus at which, I play college basketball. And, and this college, Colorado School of Mines, they were one of my first partners with Genesee Nutrition, one of my first college partners that carried my protein bars for their athletic department. But the strength and conditioning coach that oversees football and a lot of the other sports, he actually played football there when I was a basketball player there. And so he started this group where he invites a bunch of guys, and on Wednesdays we all go down to the football field and do workouts together, which is great to just have like community, and to be with a bunch of dudes. I haven't had a bunch of guys that I've like worked out with in a while, and just like having the camaraderie and holding each other accountable. But dude, I'm like, man, I'm not a college football player anymore. He's like, we're running laps around the football field, coming back like pushing sleds. I'm like, dude, my thighs were sore for 3 days.
Literally, bro. He's trying to make y'all puke out there. That's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's great. Yeah, glad to see we're all taking care of ourselves and doing the things we need to do to keep our body and mind healthy, active, and happy.
We got to do something with our bodies because crypto is not killing it right now.
Something to distract us from the charts. Jeez. Yeah, guys. Well, with that said, let's get it. So, Ripple has had a ton of acquisitions over the last couple of years, and there's 6 in particular that I want to talk about. And I think even just to say that, a company has had 6 acquisitions, 2 of which have been $1 billion or more, is just unheard of. Like, you don't even hear of big tech companies doing stuff like that. And here we have this somewhat of could Ripple still be considered a startup? I don't know, probably not.
No
Not now.
chance.
But it's young, we can still say it's a young enough company, in the sense of, what they're doing is so innovative and just new, and the technology is something that obviously has never been in existence before. So to see them doing these acquisitions, is crazy impressive just to start. But yeah, I want to get into the first one, which, and all of these are in the last 24 months that we're going to talk about. So in a relatively short amount of time. If 6 acquisitions in 24 months, that's one every 4 months, which is pretty impressive. So yeah, the first one was Medeco, which I think a lot of people are probably familiar with. They focus on custody, but you guys tell me kind of, how do you see the Medeco acquisition in particular playing into the utilization of XRP in their ecosystem?
To
Well,
be
I think
honest, I
when
think I'm
sorry.
sorry, go ahead, Phil. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that I feel like that was like the start of like Ripple kind of changing the landscape of just not payments and kind of like was showing that they was gonna be a well-rounded company that has different attributes that comes out of Ripple in itself. So it was more like the business model that they kind of laid out. And it was good to see for XRP holders just because we saw that they had a vision of doing something more than payments. And I don't think that it takes away from like the payment part of XRP. I think it's more or less Ripple building out and having more of their hands in a little bit of every pot to be able to utilize XRP in a way that even we can't see as retail investors.
Yeah, Medeco was interesting. I'm sure myself, like many others in the space, never heard of Medeco before until Ripple acquired them. And
Totally.
then it gave you like a glimpse of what they were possibly thinking, and that was broadening their business and expanding into all avenues of this new surging space. And yeah, custody, it's a huge piece to the puzzle here. But I think when they acquired Medeco, yeah, that was exciting. Okay, how does it affect XRP and the price? Because that's all we ever care about. Didn't do anything, obviously, but laid the groundwork for the bigger picture. And I didn't really see the bigger picture until a couple acquisitions later. Now, G Treasury, which we'll get to, I think the picture is quite clear.
Yeah. And I also think one of the interesting things about the Medeco acquisition was that it was prior to the SEC settlement. So as they were getting into when they acquired Medeco for $250 million.
Yeah, and that alone was impressive within itself, acquiring a company while, being litigated by the SEC. That's no small feat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
The right. I can only imagine. I run my small sports nutrition business. I don't know how I would do anything else if I was getting sued by the SEC.
Seriously.
um, but yeah, I think that the interesting thing to note about that is one of the reasons that they did it is because it got them a larger international footprint. As they were being sued here in the United States, Medeco gave them an international custody footprint. So it allowed them to expand outside the US while their hands were tied per se here in the United States. So yeah, I mean, that was acquisition number one, really. The second one that we're going to bring up here happened almost an entire year later in June of 2024, which was the Standard Custody and Trust. What do you tell me a little about the Standard Custody and Trust, being the acquisition that they made then?
I mean, I just felt like they were building off the back of acquiring Medeco and reinforcing their business portfolio in terms of custody and asset management. That's how I viewed it at the time and still do.
Yeah. I mean, Standard Custody and Trust, a New York, regulated digital asset custodian. Now, I think the main thing for them was that it added, a key US trust charter. After they had acquired Medeco already, which gave them more of that international footprint, Standard Custody and Trust gave them a very strong charter here in the US to add to Ripple's portfolio, which gave them more access to institutional clients, which obviously we all know. I mean, and as we'll see in the other acquisitions, that's Ripple's business model is institutional, the institutional clients that they're going to work with.
I think that kind of like separates. I'm sorry, I got a cough.
Go ahead. That's AI will cut this out for us.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But I just feel like for retail investors, I think that that was kind of a glimpse of us seeing that they are more leaning towards like institutions. Like the whole model has always been about the institution, retail. We always felt like we were alone for the ride because we were able to like see over the forest, like and see like where Ripple is going as a company. So like these pickups that they was getting, it was like we can kind of see that they're looking more for the institutions, they incorporating that into their business model, and it is looking more and more like they are fulfilling what they started, where they wanted to be the Internet of Things and stuff like that. So like the Internet of Value, and that's what they're working towards.
Yeah, definitely. And as we're going through this, I realized I missed actually their second one. The Standard Custody and Trust was the third one that they made in June of 24. But in September of 2023 is when they acquired Fortress Trust, which, is also a company that was based around payments and custody. So we obviously see a theme in these first three acquisitions that they made: payments, custody, institutions. So, they're even at that point, it was becoming clear what the playbook is and what they're doing and what they're building by being able to make these various business acquisitions. And, I think the next one, and possibly the most exciting one, at least from my standpoint, this one got me hyped more than any of them. And I think almost the most recent one, like at this point, we're just getting so spoiled as XRP holders with, all right, yeah, what's Ripple going to buy next? Big deal. But in April of 2025, Hidden Road for $1.25 billion.
Crazy.
And I mean, just for a company to be able to come up with that much money, cash, it's not even like they had to finance these things. So
I think that one hit different. I think that got the attention
Yeah.
of a lot of the Bitcoiners too, like the people that
Yeah.
investors that really like talk their book about Bitcoin. Because like I watched the Papiano like interview and how he was talking about
yeah.
like he even had to acknowledge like, hey, that's kind of a big deal. This ain't no $5 company. We talking about 1.2 billion. Like, you know what I mean? So
They
um
were shocked.
yeah, like
They
I
were
mean,
shocked.
and they made a huge splash and almost like a validation because some of the other ones are small. I think 250 million is a lot of money to me personally, but like some of these people acted like that wasn't a big deal with Medeco and stuff like that. But like when you talk about billions of dollars, they looking like, oh, what they doing over there at Ripple. So I think that got a lot of people attention.
Well, and it's almost like that's more than just an institutional play. And Hidden Road is a multi-asset prime brokerage firm. So what that means is they handle institutional trading, clearing, and financing. And this allows Ripple to implement RippleNet with the back end of implementing XRP for value transfer into, I mean, multi-trillion dollar space. You're looking at trillions of value transferred on a regular basis that
And look at
this
the
now gives
partnerships.
them direct access. Yeah, the
Like the
partnerships that Hidden
institutions that
Road
they
already have.
connected to, like, they connected to so many big institutions that, like, even if they don't come out and say, like, "Oh, yeah, we're using Ripple or XRP or the XRPL," that partnership is a partnership with somebody else, so they got ties to that group of people, and they're gonna be using the technology because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The infrastructure is already being laid,
And
so,
let's
like,
not
they're gonna
forget
continue it.
Ripple, right? Ripple was very clear about integrating the XRPL and utilizing XRP in services provided by Hidden Road. So these businesses might not have a direct relationship on paper, but if they're using Hidden Road services, when that integration is complete, they most likely will be utilizing the XRP ledger and XRP without even realizing it.
Right.
100%.
Because why wouldn't they? It's going to save them money and time.
Exactly. And the Hidden Road acquisition was super illuminating for me because I feel like that finally showed the light on the end game from Ripple, which we'll get to here shortly.
Yeah. Um, yeah, man. I mean, the Hidden Road one was just like the first one that got me so hyped, and it definitely was the first one that started to show their full hand.
Yep,
Hmm. Hmm.
yep,
Yeah.
So again, April of 2025, that was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
right,
So, and we still got
right.
two more to talk about. So they are full steam ahead at this point. In August of 2025, which was that 2 months ago, they bought Rail for $200 million, which, whatever. I mean, after they bought Hidden Road for 1.25, like 200 million, I barely even read the full tweet.
Yeah. Uh, Rail is a big deal for stable coins, but it felt like a consolation prize, and we were all hoping that they were going to purchase Circle. but
Facts.
still,
Yeah.
Rail's a big deal
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Yeah. I think that we was hoping it was Circle too, but like at the
Yeah.
same time, like they still it's like they picking off little pieces and they're just like adding it to their team, just adding it to the team. So like it wasn't a huge deal because we wanted what we wanted, but like it still was a really big deal for Ripple and for the
Yeah,
XRPO.
totally. Yeah, I mean, it's like when you're at that point where you're putting a puzzle together and you can very clearly see what the image is.
Yeah, the image really started to materialize here, and I'm calling it integration through acquisition.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely.
Yep.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Instead of
yeah,
fighting, they just realize, hey, we're not going to compete. We're just going to acquire and integrate. I love it. I think it's genius. It's beautiful. I love every second of it right now.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a boss move. It's definitely a
yeah.
boss move because like it's like y'all want to continue to fight, y'all want to continue to like kind of stall us out. That's cool. We'll just buy
Okay.
the company.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
just buy it.
Yeah. And so I think one thing that comes to my mind, because, it's easy for us to come on here because we see the big picture but, I want to play devil's advocate a little here with you guys. What do you say to the people that will look at what Ripple's doing and they're like, yeah, well, the only reason they can spend 250 million on Medeco and 1.25 billion on Hidden Road and however much on, Fortress and Standard and 200 million on Rail is because they're dumping XRP onto the market, because
I'm not
that's a thing that we hear a lot.
We hear it, but I'm fairly certain that's not true at all.
No, I mean, you know how I know for sure is because Ripple came out and said they doing a treasury for $1 billion to buy more
Exactly.
XRP. And I
Yes.
thought that I honestly was so happy they came out with that because it was almost like validation that
Hmm.
like as we said before, like they have a whole cycle because they transparent, they get killed for it. Like because they tell you that they got this, they put XRP back out there, but then they buy most of it back. Like, but nobody cares about that. It's just the fact that they are releasing it from the escrow and they say, oh, well, that's because they want to dump on the community. That's why the price stays the same. It's like, well, the price staying the same because there's no utility use case right now. When a use
Right.
case starts to happen, we'll see the
Supply and
price
demand.
action. It's all retail, but we see institutions coming, but they land the infrastructure. So obviously it's not going to be like tomorrow. Like it's going to take some time. But like them saying that they want to buy back XRP was like, I'm never selling. I was like, oh, I'm gonna hold mine even closer because it's like we know that it's already a shortage on some of the exchanges. And so like if they coming back trying to buy it, then the institutions are gonna start buying it too. So it will be a shortage at some point of XRP on the
March
exchanges
cap's
out
coming.
there. And then the price will start appreciating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would even say, if I'm playing a middle ground on the devil's advocate, because because Ripple is super transparent about what they release out of escrow, what they sell, what goes back into escrow. I would even say from an investor standpoint, if they are selling portions of XRP that they have in order to be able to fund these acquisitions of these companies that are ultimately building the infrastructure that's going to allow XRP to scale, I'm okay with that. As investors, we should be okay with not seeing price action upward all the time. That gives us the opportunity to actually buy more.
That's
And
the difference between long term, short term. Like people are so short term and they get in and they think that it's going to $10,000 tomorrow, and then they get disappointed and then they blame somebody because they don't know what they hold. They don't see the vision. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. And it's always like those people that's out there that likes to stir stuff up just to get people going and try to break people. And I feel like those people are like plants and they put there to like try to get people to sell so that they can get a better price, like a price, to be able to get into XRP at a lower price. So, I don't know. I just don't trust people who always play like that. Feel it's okay to like see both sides because you should as an investor. Like I don't think that everything Ripple does is the best thing ever, but like what you can see is that they continuously try to build the business, which in turn for investors is going to help us, which means
yeah,
that the price will go up eventually. So
yeah. And I think it's completely different than if Ripple were just selling XRP and just pocketing the money.
correct.
They're using the cash reserves that they have in order to buy companies that build the infrastructure that will ultimately lead to the adoption and the real world usage and utility of XRP. So to me, that's just extra bullish long term. You just have to have the long term mindset and not get caught up in the idea of, well, because they're transparent, we're going to demonize it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. Why would they fight the SEC and spend all that money, they could have just said yes for security and kept it pushing and just sold to institutions and went through that infrastructure. Why would they go through this whole battle, which really helped retail? Because if it was a security, we wouldn't be able to hold it. Then why would they go through all that just to be like, yeah, we're just going to continue to dump and pocket the money? Like, it's a long term vision from the jump. And anybody who like really looked into it would see like, okay, this is a long term play. They talking about 10, 15, 20 years from now, where it could be like Amazon didn't go up like that over a 5-year span. Like it had its run, and now you look where it's at, and it's like because they had the vision, they stuck with it, and everybody who stuck with it, they made a lot of money off of it. Ripple is going to be like the Amazon of this. Like it's going to be the Google of this. Like I just see it being such a big company that like we won't even be able to realize it. We're gonna know. We're gonna say, "Hey, we said this was what's gonna happen," but it's just gonna be. It's gonna surprise a lot of people because
Yeah,
they can't see the vision.
totally.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. The main difference is that global value transfer is much larger than selling books and diapers and, whatever on Amazon. Yeah. And all good intentions towards Amazon. That's great. But all the value, the transfer of the global value transfer backbone is obviously exponentially larger than selling stuff, random things
Yeah,
to
for
people
sure.
online. So let's get into this last one and the most recent one that just happened here in October. G Treasury, $1 billion acquisition. And I think this one really ties it together with the puzzle pieces. So, Phil, drop us in a little detail, tell us about this G Treasury and what this does for Ripple and XRP.
Yeah, I felt like this purchase really brought the whole thing together. G Treasury is linked in with so many big players in this space. I believe over 13,000 institutions across the globe are tied into G Treasury, and they handle virtually everything a large corporation would need financially. Crazy excited to see the XRP ledger and Ripple get integrated into this. And a lot of these institutions that are partnered with G Treasury, you can facilitate so many things XRP was built to do through their services. And now I think G Treasury, again, it brought the whole piece.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about integrating into the Fortune 500 companies.
Yes, exactly. All the big names.
They got a partnership with Swift too, right?
They do.
Yep. So even
G
though Swift came
Treasury
out,
specifically has a partnership with Swift.
yes,
Yes.
Yeah. So all the people that want to be like, Ripple's not partnering with Swift,
yeah, they bought their way.
they got
I
to
love
eat
it.
their
Like,
sock now.
what did you say, Phil? What did you say earlier that they were doing?
Integration through acquisition.
Yeah,
That's
that's good.
look. It was almost like Brad like gave him like the gotcha. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. It's great. It's great to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Well, this is cool, guys. Hey, this was a fun Sunday. Obviously, love getting on here and hanging out with you guys, talking about our day, talking about our week, talking about our life, and then just getting into these things that we find so fascinating. And this new developments in blockchain, this whole new world that is coming together. And to see Ripple being at the forefront of this, acquiring these major companies, two of these were $1 billion or more acquisition. That's no joke, man. I mean, they've got big plans. You don't just make $1 billion, $200 million acquisitions. It's funny that the $200 million is the small one. Like, that's the pennies.
Yeah.
But you don't do this stuff unless you're serious.
Yeah. And the plan is massive. And the plan is the Ripple National Trust Bank, as they
Yes.
have filed with the office of the OCC, the Office Comptroller of the Currency. And that all these acquisitions lay the foundation and the groundwork for that new national bank. And I think if that is inevitable, especially in this administration, that will be approved all in due time. And that's the big picture, the Ripple National Trust Bank. And I could not be more excited about that personally. I think that's extremely bullish, extremely bullish.
Yep. I mean, that plugged in with the Fed Master account. And I mean, this is their ability to do everything in finance. We're talking about treasuries, bonds, custody, payments, trading of all types of value. This is everything. This encompasses the entire world of finance. And Ripple has put every single piece of this together. Guys, this will be the last question before we wrap up. But this is another kind of devil's advocate, like Duran had brought up the Anthony Pompliano video. And one of the things that he said, that I would love to get your guys' reaction on is that he tries to really separate XRP from Ripple. He tries
Mhm.
to be like, oh yeah, like XRP, but like this is just Ripple, the company doing this. Like good for Ripple. And he tries to say, there's been other companies that kind of have like a failing business model that start
Mhm.
trying to make these acquisitions. It's such BS, but I'll let you guys respond.
My take is Pump has paid a lot of money to spit FUD on Ripple and XRP. He's made a lot of money talking trash on Ripple and XRP, and I believe he'll continue to do so. I personally pay him no attention, so good for him, but we're going to leave him in the dust.
Yeah, I think he always talk his book because like he trying to
Always.
sell his stuff with Bitcoin and his company with Bitcoin, and he'll continue. He don't even talk about Ethereum. Like he only talks about Bitcoin. He talks his book, and I appreciate him even acknowledging the fact that he's coming around, but like he still all he did was talk his book. He couldn't give too much credit because he get paid not to give credit. Like he's getting paid to not talk about Ripple, to not say. And because he got put on the spot, I loved it because I think that who was it? Was it Pat
Patrick
Beverly?
Bet David.
David.
He
Yeah.
always put people on the spot about it, and because he don't have no stake in the game, so he
Right.
don't work for nobody. He not paid and bought. So like I love him for doing
Yeah.
that. And you could tell Pomp didn't really want to answer that question, but he was pretty honest and said his piece, but he still, but I only care about, helping the people and blah blah blah. It's like
Yeah.
you don't care about helping the people. You care
Yeah.
about filling your pockets, bro. Like that's all you want to do.
Yeah, because it's just at the point, what else could he say? You can't deny these facts of what Ripple is doing. You can try to make a very weak argument about how that's Ripple and that has nothing to do with XRP. But if you understand the functionality of XRP and understand that Ripple has been very clear that everything that they're doing is with the intention of implementing the technology of XRP, it becomes very clear what Ripple is doing here, and that if you have a long-term horizon, there's no better investment, in my opinion. Not financial advice, do your own research. But I'm not a financial advisor. Don't listen to me. I just try to, sell protein bars and do an awful job of pushing sleds on a football field. So, you know, don't listen to what I think.
That's great.
But anyway, yeah, guys, fun as always. Love
Yes,
hanging
sir.
out with you guys. Another great Sunday. Can't wait to get back in the studio here next week. And hopefully we've got some good price action that happens for us. But if not, just excited to continue to live life and have fun and enjoy myself. And definitely one of the biggest things I think make an impact in living a healthy, active, happy life is community. Uh, Appreciate you guys. You both are my brothers. And yeah, love you guys. Until next week.
Yep. See you guys.
See you later, brother.
Later.
Bro, I don't know.
Hey.